Hi, I'm Kellie Noe, and I'm doing a follow-up discussion on culture-bound syndromes. So I appreciated Danielle's starter post, and I felt she did a really good job and a thorough explanation of culture-bound syndromes. So I'm just going to go in and talk about my perspective of them. Um, when reading Chapter 9, um, I found it very interesting about culture-bound syndromes that specific cultures have specific disorders or specific sicknesses or illnesses or mental disorders based on what that culture views to be acceptable and unacceptable and healthy and unhealthy. So I found that very interesting because there's a lot of disorders in other cultures that in our culture it wouldn't even count as anything really, or it would have a different name because of the different culture that we're in. So why they exist is because of different traditions and religious values, what's normal in that culture versus what's not normal in that culture, and I think that makes a huge difference as to what someone may say is acceptable and not. So one of the examples that I want to talk about is in Japan. I don't even know how to pronounce this, but it's like Taijin Kaifu Sho Syndrome, which is TKS, and that's the fear, or it's a embarrassment, or you get this anxious feeling that when let's say I would talk to someone, that I would embarrass myself because of the gestures that I have. So if I'm blushing or if I'm staring inappropriately, I have a constant fear that I'm going to do that to someone else, and that makes me embarrassed. So I find that very interesting. I can definitely see how it would be some sort of disorder, but definitely in our culture, in the Western culture, that would not be considered really a disorder at all. Um, so that's interesting. um, but then the next question, how can practitioners be competent? I definitely think education is has a huge impact on that. If a practitioner or a doctor has no idea that someone from Japan is coming and has this fear that they're going to be, um, that when they're talking to people, they're getting embarrassed and for themselves and for other people, um, they're going to do a misdiagnosis, and that's not good at all, especially because they want to treat them to the best of their ability. So I know in the book it talked about when doctors go over to Africa, for example, and try and help patients there, there's oftentimes a misdiagnosis because the doctor isn't competent in knowing what sicknesses and illnesses are and how they're interpreted in different countries. So the last question is, what does it say about the role of mental and physical health and wellness? I definitely think across cultures it's different. In every culture, what's viewed is different, just based on what's, like I said before, what's normal in that culture. And I think that uh, in order to make sure you are aware of what's happening in other cultures. You need to be educated. You need to, if you have a patient, for example, who's coming from a country in Africa, you want to make sure you follow up some background information on the different illnesses and sicknesses for that patient before you see them. So let's say you don't diagnose them with the common cold when it could be something completely different. So that is all I have for the discussion post. Thank you very much.